Okay, so I just created a new playlist on my channel for those of you who ain't seen it yet. If you go to my channel page and scroll down, you'll find it right here. Classic Ringwalk songs. And there's quite a few songs on it already, but I am open to suggestions and I'll come on to that in just a moment. But as it stands right now, if we scroll to the top, we've got Kanye West, All of the Lights. That was used by Kell Brook for many of his fights. Tina Turner, The Best, which obviously was used by Chris Eubank Sr. for most of his career. The Prodigy, Spitfire, was used by George Groves. Red Hot Chili Peppers, Can't Stop, was used by Vladimir Klitschko. You're the Best by Joe Esposito was used by Manny Pacquiao for the Margarito fight. That's the song from Karate Kid. Survivor, Eye of the Tiger was also used by Pacquiao. McFadden and Whitehead, Ain't No Stopping Us Now was used by Larry Holmes and David Hay. Dangerous by Cornroy Smith was used by Nigel Benn and his son Connor. Guns N' Roses, Welcome to the Jungle. Dylan White used that song at least once. AC/DC, Back in Black, Dylan White used that song a load of times. And finally, Robert Tepper, No Easy Way Out, was used by Carl Froch for the Lucian Bute fight. So that's the list as it stands. Now, as far as adding to it, I should really clarify what I mean by classic Ringwalk songs. I'm not just talking about any old random song that somebody came out to for a fight, or even a song that a fighter used a lot of times. That isn't necessarily going to be classic to me anyway. So, for example, Chris Eubank Jr. always uses Still Dre by Dr. Dre. And that just doesn't work as a Ringwalk song for me. It doesn't do anything for me. Don't get it twisted. I liked the song when it came out in, when was it, late 90s, when that album came out. Yeah, I like the song and the song does what it does. But for a Ringwalk song, I don't think it works. And it doesn't really make sense. Why is Eubank Jr. coming out to that? What is the chorus relevant to boxing? Not really. So I'll come onto that a little bit more as we go through some of people's suggestions, some people's suggestions. So anyway, EJ says, U6 Walkout song. I haven't actually heard that yet. So I'm going to go listen to U6 Walkout song, but it hasn't particularly caught my ear at this point. Outmatch Boxing, big up Outmatch every time. Boxing Brotherhood. He says, Lomachenko coming out to Clubbed to Death. That's a song from the Matrix soundtrack. I think they've used it in a few movies, but in the Matrix soundtrack, there's that song. And I don't know, personally, it didn't really do much for me when Lomachenko was coming out to that particular tune, but that's just me. Terrence Crawford walking out to I'm Bad, LL Cool J against Porter. Don't actually remember that. But one thing I'll say is that for my personal taste, and look, I grew up listening in the 80s and 90s to hip hop music. So I got no issue with hip hop, but I don't really think it lends itself to Ringwalk music for me personally. It just doesn't really lend itself to it. There might be the odd exception, a hip hop track that does work, but for the most part, they don't really work for me. They don't really get my, heart racing and get me pumped for the fight when someone's coming out to some, rap tune. Anyway, the next person said Vitaly's Hell's Bells Ringwalk was a really good one. Yeah, but I think Vladimir Klitschko's Ringwalk song is a lot better. So Vitaly's one doesn't make my list. What else we got here? Okay, somebody suggested Robert Tepper. And in fact, I put the Robert Tepper song on there because of the suggestion from Rob Beck here. People talking about All of the Lights. Yeah, All the Lights was a really good song for Kell Brook. It made sense. So somebody here says Right Above It and then Dedication. These are two rap songs. And yeah, neither of them really work for me. Neither of them really do anything for me with regards to Ringwalk music. George Grove's Spitfire worked really well. That's what James is saying here. Now, if there's one, well, this is grime rather than rap, but, similar genre. If there's one song that I may actually add, it's Stormzy Shut Up when AJ came out for the Dylan White fight. I might actually put that on there because it captured a it captured a vibe, it captured the energy of that particular time in AJ's career. And maybe that particular time in urban music in the UK, you know, it all just came together and it made sense. And people at the time were also hashtagging chat-ish, get banged and all that kind of stuff. You guys remember that? So yeah, Stormzy Shut Up might actually make my list. Maybe I'll add it after I finish this video. So the next person here suggests, he says the best ring walk track ever was Mike Tyson's entrance against Michael Spinks. I have to disagree. Now look, it's all subjective at the end of the day. If it's the best for you, then that's the best for you. It's music, you know? One man's trash is another man's treasure. But Mike Tyson never really got the ring walk music thing. Or he never really did the ring walk music thing in the way that certain other fighters do. Like, so, for example, Chris Eubank Sr. Mike Tyson would just pick random tracks. Whatever track he thought was popping at the time, he'd, you know, play that track and come out. Mike Tyson was, in fact, Mike Tyson didn't really need ring walk music because he was the music all by himself. And what kind of music would Mike Tyson be? I don't know, death metal or something. Mike Tyson, because the track the person's referring to for the Michael Spinks fight was some weird avant-garde track that had no melody that I can remember. It just sounded like industrial noise. And that's what he came out to for the Michael Spinks fight. And I guess it was intended to unnerve Spinks, and perhaps it served that purpose. And at the time it worked because most people were coming out to soul and funk and stuff like that, you know, James Brown and whatever. Some fighters will come out to rock songs. And Tyson was like the antithesis of all that because it was kind of a party vibe for most fighters in terms of the music that they would pick. Mike Tyson wasn't coming to party. He was coming to crash the party and rub everybody at the party. That's the kind of vibe he was coming with. You understand? So in that sense, that song, I guess, worked, if you can call it a song. But looking back, when I watch the Michael Spinks fight again now, it doesn't give me goosebumps or anything like that when all this weird industrial noise and this horrible avant-garde song is playing. Whereas with other ring walks, it really still does get me pumped because the song is really good, you know, and you can get into the whole vibe of the event and whatever. So personally, Tyson's ring walk track for the Spinks fight, I mean, maybe I'll put it on there because it was just so weird. For the nostalgia of it, just put it because it's weird, but I don't know. It's definitely not in my top 10, probably even not even top 20 ring walk tracks. So anyway, next one. Okay, somebody talking about, yeah, Eubank Spitfire. Okay, they're all on the list already. So here's another one. The DMX tune Tyson walked out to against Botha. Tyson was on the way down, but like I say, he would always just pick whatever track he thought was popping at the time among his little circle of people. He didn't really have a theme song that he would stick with for any period of time. And yeah, for me, the DMX thing, see, when Mike Tyson started moving towards, you know, the street culture again, where he's originally from, that was, maybe it was coincidence, but it signaled the downfall of his career. At the peak of Mike Tyson's career, I forget even what songs he was coming out to. Maybe there was some Public Enemy. I think he came out to Public Enemy for the Razor Ruddock fight, maybe both of those fights. You Must Learn by KRS-One. I remember that one. I think that was for the Buster Douglas fight. So yeah, he was coming out to rap music, but when he was in his prime, like before then, maybe 86, 85, 80, you know, up to 87, what music was he coming out to? I can't even remember. I think it must have been like funk and similar kind of music to everybody else. So yeah, when he started playing the DMXs and the Tupacs, it just didn't work for me. Just didn't work for me. Somebody here suggesting Fuji's Ready or Not. Again, that doesn't really work for me either. Shelly Ann by Red Rat. Prince Nassim, but was that the song that he chose for the Kevin Kelly fight? That girl, Shelly Ann. Did he really? I didn't realize that. I'm not sure that would make the list though. It's a weird selection. Okay, this guy says Roy Jones Can't Be Touched. I mean, that's probably the best song a boxer has ever made about being a boxer. Roy Jones Can't Be Touched. And it's actually a catchy little tune. But I don't know, there's just something. Maybe it will make the list. Maybe. But it's not particularly epic, you know, to me. So this guy says, Ain't Nobody, Shaka Khan is a good walkout. Khan and Crawford both walked out to it versus Brook. Shaka Khan, Ain't Nobody is one of my favorite songs of all time. An incredible song. It's a love song, and it doesn't really work for me as a ring walk song. I know there's a lot of nostalgia, and when Bud Crawford was coming out to it, you know, we're all grooving and we like that song. But does it work as a ring walk song? For me, no. I mean, some people would say Simply the Best by Tina Turner is a love song. Yeah, but the chorus works because Eubank Sr.'s nickname was Simply the Best. So it works for him, you know? And even if his name wasn't Simply the Best, just as a chorus for any boxer, you're simply the best, better than all the rest. It works. You see it? So, yeah, as much as I love Shaka Khan, Ain't Nobody, that can't make my list. Another guy talking about Prince Nassim using Hot Step. Here comes the Hot Step. Yeah, I remember him using that track. And I don't know, maybe it will make the list. Maybe. But it's not really epic, is it? It's not really epic. But maybe I'll put that on there. The Tiger, yeah. Tyson Fury, Freed from Desire. Again, some people just pick good tracks, but they're not necessarily relevant to boxing in any way. You know, the lyrics aren't particularly relevant. The chorus isn't particularly relevant. They're just a good track that people like. So that wouldn't really make my list. This guy mentioning the Prince Nassim again. Somebody else mentioning Usyk. Billy Joel's Spartan Soldier versus Canelo was magic. Don't actually remember that. Okay, this person says Patsy Cline Crazy. I'll have to check that out. What else we got here? Okay, yeah, I've got that. Yep, got those. Povetkin's ring walk music. I'll have to revisit that actually, because I do seem to remember something quite interesting when Povetkin was coming out. Prodigy Spitfire, yes. Well, LL Cool J, Mama Said Knock You Out. Back in the early 90s, when did that song come out? It came out in the early 90s, didn't it? Maybe 92, 93, something like that. Then it would have been a good song for somebody to come out to. Now, I don't know. See, the thing with hip hop music is that the production value back then was quite poor. Now, hip hop music is very polished and the production value is right up there with any other genre. But back then, the production value was relatively poor. It wasn't even close to the other genres like rock and whatever at the time. So it doesn't really, a lot of it, not all of it, but a lot of it doesn't really translate. It doesn't really date that well, age that well, should I say. So even though it's very, very relevant, obviously, to boxing, Mama Said Knock You Out. I don't know. Maybe I'll put it on there. If there's a fighter who used it for one of his fights, like a well-known fighter, did Mike Tyson ever use it? If Mike Tyson used it, it can go on the list for sure. Let's see. This guy talking about Kell Brook, KRS-One, You Must Learn. Yeah, I remember that. I always felt like it was from the one of the Ruddock fights, but when I went to go look for that ring walk to see, you know, to hear him walking out to KRS-One, well, it was actually Boogie Down Productions, isn't it? Was it KRS-One or Boogie Down Productions? Obviously, KRS-One was part of Boogie Down Productions, but I think that song's from BDP rather than KRS-One as a solo artist. Correct me if I'm wrong. They Ain't Ready, Scraps by Age. Yeah, I can't. More rap. All of the Lights, obviously, is a rap song, you know, hip hop. And that works fantastically well for Kell Brook. You know, it's musical enough. A lot of hip hop music just isn't musical enough for me, isn't epic enough. Whereas All of the Lights by Kanye West is very musical, very epic. And, you know, All of the Lights, the bright flashing, and it just works extremely well. Carl Froch, Oasis, Morning Glory. I don't know. Again, it's a song that a lot of people like, a famous song, but is it really a classic Ringwalk song? Not for me personally. Other people mentioning Shaka Khan, Ain't Nobody. Bernard Hopkins coming out to Ray Charles, America, The Beautiful has to be up there. I'll have to revisit that and listen. Derek Chisora, Hotel California. Again, a very popular song, but is it relevant to boxing? It's just one of those weird Derek Chisora eccentricities where he's picked a random song, you know, I mean, that he likes. And I get it from a fighter's perspective. If you like the song, you like the song. Maybe it puts you in the right mood. But from a fan perspective, I want to hear something that's kind of relevant in some way to either the fighter or the fight or boxing in general. Okay. And there's somebody asking me here, what music would I come out to? And the track I've picked is Push It to the Limit from the Scarface soundtrack. Yeah, that's a song that I still listen to this day, Push It to the Limit. So that's what I would use. And maybe I'd switch it up for different fights in this fantasy where I'm 20 years younger than I am now and I'm just turning professional and I'm picking my ring walk music. I would go with, I think the guy who sung the song was called Engelman. Was it Paul Engelman? Something Engelman, but it's on the Scarface soundtrack. And yeah, that's what I'll go to. I think that was sampled by, was it Rick Ross or one of these rappers sampled it and didn't do it justice, of course. But yeah, that's the song I would pick. Push It to the Limit from the Scarface soundtrack. Anyway, I'm open to suggestions in the comment section below. Give me your favorite, well, not just favorite, but what you think would be most appropriate to make the list as classic ring walk songs. Yeah. Something that has lyrics in there, even if the overall theme of the song isn't really fighting or boxing related, has lyrics in it that pertain, that could be interpreted as boxing lyrics, like Simply the Best, you know? All of the Lights and whatever. Let me know what you guys have to offer, have to suggest in the comment section below, and I'll catch you on the next video. But yeah, make sure you check out the playlist. It's right here. I'll also leave a link in the description. I'm out. If you're tired of the biased narratives and mass censorship on mainstream platforms, and you want to be part of a community of critical thinkers who love free speech just as much as you do, then come and join me on Patreon and access my weekly no-holds-barred, censorship-free podcast where we lift the lid on a wide variety of controversial topics. It's not mainstream friendly, it's not politically correct, but that's the whole point. We dare to stand as a beacon of reason against an army of insanity. Just head on over to my Patreon page and select the tier called Hatman Hot Topics. You'll gain access to a minimum of 2 hours of exclusive content every single week, including podcasts, videos, interviews, live stream Q&As, as well as my popular Confessions of a Nightclub Bouncer series. Not to mention a vast back catalog of hundreds of hours of previous episodes. You can listen via the Patreon app with the option to download in high quality MP3. We've also got an Element group where you can come and chat and hang out with myself and other members. Unlike Discord, it has full end-to-end encryption, is decentralized, and is 100% censorship free. You can also send voice notes as well as much larger audio and video files than you can on Discord. So come and sign up on Patreon. There's no contract, there's no commitment. You can cancel at any time, and it's cheaper than a cup of coffee. So I'll see you over there. I'm out.